Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.
This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, today's show is brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf, online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, best in new inventory with great warranties. Great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee. A fabulous service department that backs it all up. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Time now for our play-by-play call of the day.
Westy's still looking for his first home run. Speaking of home runs, it is just a matter of time.
He drives this to right field. Towards the corner it goes. Down the line it goes. And there's number one.
Didn't take much time, did it?
The first major league home run for young Jordan Westburg. He goes the other way, and he finds the right field bleachers here in Philadelphia. 1-0 Baltimore.
Well, how pretty was that, too? And he went upstairs, top shelf. Inside-out swing for a 1-0 lead. His first career lone ball for Jordan Westburg.
Ben McDonald with the reverse jinx, man.
I noticed that.
The reverse jinx.
Been that kind of year for the O's.
I was doing a baseball game. It was 4th of July a few years ago. I said, look, as soon as he hits a grand slam here, they're going to be up by 6 runs. Next pitch, he hit it over the center field fence.
That's right. I remember that.
Well, time now for Tuesdays with Neal. My man, how are you?
I'm doing well, living the non-reverse jinx life.
Oh, that's okay. I'm living in a world where the other host calls everything stupid, including me.
I've run podcasts before. I know what that's like.
Get the lingerie on the deck. Call the janitor.
So, we've gone through a lot of scenarios here. So what are your top 5 training camp scenarios that you are interested to see how they play out or don't play out?
Oh, that's a fun question. We're looking league-wide. I'm obviously biased. Number one for me, just because I think that the issue is multifaceted. If you take a Pittsburgh Steelers team that had significant doubts about their offensive line this time last year, one of those doubts resided in their left tackle, Dan Moore. Now, for all of his faults, and there are many at the professional level, he's experienced. He knows what to expect, and for once, for a team that has a reasonable playoff aspiration, maybe even an outside chance of competing for a division title, left tackle is going to be an important position for them. They trade out to draft Broderick Jones in round 1, who's about as prototypical of a modern left tackle as you can get, except for the fact that, or maybe including the fact that he's probably raw, a little bit behind, especially in terms of pass protection.
Right.
Who are they going to start? Because with the Steelers, you have to go back a ways, barring injury, to find a rookie that they didn't throw into the fire immediately. All of them have played pretty much since. David DeCastro would have played. He got hurt in a preseason game in 2012. Cam Hayward did not play much at all his rookie year in 2011. But since then, all of their first-round picks have played quite a bit. I'm curious how that shakes out because I really feel the Steelers are a team to watch. High-end defense. I think they can get more out of their offense. But is it Jones, the prospect who probably isn't ready, or is it more the veteran who hasn't shown anything yet? I think that's a very conflicting situation. The one guy, and we've talked about this, that I'm really interested in seeing in an NFL offense after some coaching is Anthony Richardson.
Yes.
I think it's a great spot for him in terms of, I don't know if this is a team that has great expectations right now, but what I think gets missed with Richardson is if we were to compare this inappropriately and unfairly to another sport, and I hate doing this, I don't know why I always do it. He's like a pitcher who can throw an 85-mile-an-hour slider on the block for a strike 9 out of 10 times, but can't throw the ball to first base.
Right.
So it's like, what's the harder thing to find here? Is there a way that you can just, not throw the ball to first base? You have somebody else do it in all situations? Is it that big of a deal? If you can throw a pitch like that, I don't know how many times you're going to hit him anyway. Anthony Richardson in the right, I don't want to say the right offense, but the right offensive leader guiding him, he's going to do some unbelievable things in the NFL because he is freakishly talented. It's just easy to look at the flaws that he has and say, and try to write him off. But it's like he does the big stuff way too well in today's NFL. Perhaps unfair, but let's put it this way: put Anthony Richardson's size, athleticism, and arm in Philadelphia's offense last year.
Right.
You're talking 5,500 yards of passing. He can do all of that. He might not be able to hit a crosser over the middle, but if you've got single coverage on the outside, you got two streakers going either way, he's going to hit the open one. He can do that all day. He just needs to be allowed to do it. Now, if you want to break him down and only throw short stuff, have him rely on outlets, I'm not sure how good he's going to be. But if they let the kid go out there and play and just say, look, you know what, this is his highest and best. It's risky, but he's going to make a lot of big plays. You're in for a real fun player to watch. So for me, I am really enamored with him as a player. I'm really curious to see how first-year coach Shane Steichen's going to work him in, what they're going to do with him, how they're going to utilize the talent that they have around him. I don't think it's going to be a year-one thing for him. I think they've got some money they need to spend, some more draft picks they need to acquire, but he's going to do some things his rookie year that's going to make you really wonder, is this kid a future All-Pro?
What is interesting is I never once heard you mention the name Aaron Rodgers.
If people haven't learned in the NFL about the hype of free agents, they haven't paid attention beyond just Tom Brady, and he's Tom Brady. No, Aaron Rodgers is not Tom Brady.
Yeah.
What a quarterback does in the first year that he's with a new team is not typically what you've seen from that quarterback in the past.
Right.
In a way, that might be a good thing for Aaron Rodgers, because if you really watched him last year in Green Bay, you're not seeing the same player that you think is in New York right now. He's not that guy anymore. I don't care who's calling plays. I don't care if it's his best friend of 40 years, and he'll do everything that Aaron wants to do because, frankly, Nate Hackett is fairly in the argument of the worst head coach in NFL history. He doesn't have a choice but to do what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. I'm not sure that is going to equate to great success with within a player that I saw last year with pretty noticeably diminished physical talent. Right. That was in January. Where is he going to be now after all this? New environment. Everything's new. Is he going to come in and lock down right away? Is all this going to work immediately? I don't know what part of this sounds like it's going to. I really don't. I think they start off pretty rough, and I think you're going to start to all the optimism that's going on about the Jets right now, I think is going to be flipped. I think everybody's going to be coming after them. Now, to be fair, Rodgers does well when that happens. There are plenty of instances in which the Packers didn't start off the best. Their fans got chirping. He's made a career out of that. So I'm not writing him off. I don't think this is going to be quite the I wouldn't put them at Buffalo's level. But to add number 4 to this, you know who I think is Miami.
Yes.
That's a really fun division to watch. Let's go back with this, because here's the thing. Tyreek Hill, in my opinion, first half of last season is the MVP of the league. I mean, his numbers were outstanding for what he was doing, and he was making big play after big play. And then his quarterback got hit in the head, I think every day for 2 weeks or something like that. He was out a lot, and he didn't have anybody throwing the ball. His numbers were still big, not MVP level big. I mean, imagine what it would take for a receiver to win an MVP in today's league. That was Tyreek Hill last year. And as somebody that really didn't think that was going to work, I was beyond impressed. Now, there are 32 teams in the league, theoretically anyway, maybe, in reality, 29. But of all of those teams, they're not going to improve if their starting quarterback gets hurt. So the statement that if he stays healthy is true of everybody, all right? I get that. That said, when Tua was in, that team did some things offensively. They're really, really good. Yeah. Mike McDaniel does a great job organizing that. He only got better as a coach. He's a second-year guy now. They made moves defensively. I think getting Jalen Ramsey was an excellent move for what they're doing defensively. Yes. Not an outside guy, but if anybody, we get into the cliche a lot. Well, he can't play corner. Well, let's just play him at safety. Right, the same thing. But if there's a guy that could really make that transition and do well with it in today's NFL, it's Jalen Ramsey. He would be an all-pro safety if they played him at safety. He's that talented. Nobody stays on the outside at a dominant level for very long anymore. It's a really hard position. They're gonna do very well defensively with that addition right there. Xavier Howard is still among the best in the league. That's a team to watch. When I look at the AFC East right now, I'm looking at Miami. I'm not even looking at Buffalo so much. I'm definitely not looking at the Jets or the Patriots. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that comes together, how much McDaniel can stack on what he already built there. Did opponents get enough of their offense with Tua in it to figure out tendencies, things like that? I'm not sure it did. So I think you can see some big things out of Miami early, and I think that's a team to watch.
Yeah, because I was kidding around with Mike McDaniel at Pro Day when he was here. And he was kidding around about, when Tua wasn't in, I didn't run all the good plays. He's joking around. And we're just having some fun and some laughs with it. What is, in your estimation, the legitimate depth in the NFC in terms of good teams, quality teams? Because it sounds like the AFC's got a lot of them.
I think we cut that conversation very short. I think we usually look immediately at quarterbacks, and the loaded, hype-filled quarterbacks are in the AFC. They're probably not so much in the NFC. Daniel Jones is getting a big contract, and we're not even sure if he's a good quarterback. It's easy to go with that. But you look at our Giants team that despite the apparent limitation of Daniel Jones being its quarterback, they won a playoff game. They won a road playoff game. And this is a team that they haven't won more than 5 games in the last couple of years. Brian Dable was the best coach in football, in my opinion, for what he did with that team as quickly as he did it. You worry about playing a team like that.
I told him that. I told Brian that when he was here.
He earned it. He earned it. I don't think he got the recognition that he deserved for what they had. And I'm not dismissing. Every team's got talent. It's not that they're all, the 30-year stretch of the Cleveland Browns. Their teams.
But by the way, just to appease Matt, if you could just say Nick Sirriani's the greatest of all time, that would help his attitude.
I haven't even gotten into the genius of Nick Sirianni. He's one of my favorites. I love what Philadelphia does. I think he's the type of guy that will continue to have success because he knows how to continue to get better. And you look at what Philadelphia did. Jalen Hurts is the MVP. He's not even a top 5 quarterback. A lot of that is Nick Sirriani being smart enough to highlight the strengths of his quarterback and not try to make him balance. I hate that. They want the quarterback to do everything.
That is the key to coaching.
Do what you have.
That's the key to coaching.
Don't worry about what you don't have. That's modern leadership. And Sirianni gets that. For as young as he is, he didn't have a ton of experience. He went all in with a guy that fairly was a second-round draft pick. And look at what they got out of him. And it's not just we're going to call these plays and do these things. It is that to a degree, in the sense that they're not afraid to get him out of the pocket. They're not afraid to give him option routes. They're not afraid to tell him, if you got it, go get it. But more than anything, it's to do what he's best at, we need to get vertical runners. Let's go get A.J. Brown. We've got Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert can do a lot more if he's not just patrolling the middle of the field.
Right.
They open things up for Hurts. And that's exactly what I'm talking about as far as Anthony Richardson goes. I think
yes.
If Richardson was in that type of situation, I think he can be just like Jalen Hurts. Hurts not a great pure thrower of the football, but he can get a ball deep downfield, and he can take what a defense gives him. So if you roll him out and you've got an RPO out of that, drag somebody short, and you've got vertical routes, your defense is stressed to no end. And I know that. Go ask Mike Tomlin. I mean, really, the one Eagles game that stands out to me was the complete vertical assault of the Steelers' defense in the first half of that game. There's nothing they could do. And they were just getting completely destroyed. And it's because Hurts could do whatever he wanted to do. He was so locked in. Sirianni and the Eagles, I still think that's the top of the NFC. They're a very difficult team to match up with. They lost some stuff. Every team does. It's still a very well-coached team, very balanced. They're the most dynamic and versatile offense in the NFL, and they showed throughout the entire, 18 and a half games anyway, until really the second half of the Super Bowl, where they just got out-coached, how good they can be overall. And what are they going to take away from that? How much are they going to learn from that? We still have a great quarterback coach, still have a great offensive coordinator. Philadelphia's, as much a favorite as anybody. Again, if we're going to kind of go through the futile exercise of breaking a quarterback down just purely based on traits, Hurts is probably not your guy. But look at what he does in the framework of what they set up for him, and look at both sides of that. That's what you have working for you. That's a horse to bet on, in my opinion. Not every team has that.
Well, and that's the key to coaching. The key to coaching is to look at the personnel and say, okay, what are they capable of and what can they do best? You don't attempt to fit the system to the players. You have to sit there and say, hey, look, the players had to fit. Okay, this is what we do. This is what we'd like to do. But you know what? We can't do A, B, or C. But we can do D through J because that's what they're capable of. We try to do A through D, can't do it because we'll lose.
They can't do it just because you did that 10 years ago and it worked really well. And that's the reason you're in the job that you're in. You hate to bring up Belichick all the time, but Belichick, his genius, in my opinion, is apparent in the fact that his best team, that 2017 that lost the Super Bowl, was completely different than the 2011 team that won the Super Bowl the next time he got there.
That's right.
He overhauled the entire team. He modernized it. He built a short, effective run and pass game out of the same stuff, which was not even close to what they did in 2007. And that became the basis of offense in the NFL. He adapted everything that he did based on what he had. And then he went out and found market efficiencies, getting veteran players at low cost to do certain things in certain situations. I feel the best teams are going to be able to do that, and we see that over a period of time. Kansas City just won the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure you and I talked last year around this time that Kansas City is going to really struggle without Tyreek Hill because they can't do the circus ball thing that Mahomes had been so good at. So what do? They reeled him in, became a lethal situation team, won every short down that they ever had, and took, frankly, not all that good of an overall defense to the Super Bowl. Got a great second half out of them to hold on and allow their high-power offense to come back and win. They got a ton of run out of a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster, not replacing directly, but you have to fill in Tyreek Hill's targets somehow, and they're not 18-yard down the field kinds of targets. They had to reinvent how they played the game. That's not just Patrick Mahomes. The talent of Patrick Mahomes obviously is great, but it's coaching, and a lot of that is humble leadership. We have to do something else. We can't be afraid to admit that we can't do the things that we used to do. Now we need to do this again. So you have a guy like Andy Reid who gives that kind of confidence to his team. How many different things that you can do? How many different things are there that you can do?
Phenomenal as always. Thank you, sir. You make Tuesdays just one of the better days of the whole week. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me, guys.
Neal Coolong. You know what? If you listen to that, what didn't you hear, man?
That things were stupid.
I just feel like you've made so much progress. Just in an hour.
I try.
Are you sure?
Most of the time.
Wheels in the next half hour here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And today's show brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia. Routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf online, sunburymotors.com, Ford, Kia, Hyundai. Best in new inventory, great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee. And a great service department that backs it all up every step of the way. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia. Routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. U.S. opener with Vietnam, $4.26 million on Fox Friday night. Very good. They have Netherlands tomorrow. And that's according to Austin Karp of Sports Business Journal. And also SBJ's Chris Smith and Ben Fisher reporting that NBC will send 1,500 fewer people to the Paris Olympics. But they will carry more broadcast coverage despite having fewer people there. It's the first time that they have done a full Summer Olympic Games in 8 years. Rio was really the last one because Tokyo was in the bubble. I know we have wheels in a few moments, so I don't want to take away from any of your time where you can somehow get a hold of your emotions. So I'll let you blow off more steam as to what you think is a rant and potentially stupid.
Well, that was the umpire in the Phillies-O's game last night. Now, Trey Turner had a rough night, so let's be real here. He's been very disappointing for the Phillies, in my opinion. But him getting thrown out at home after he struck out last night, I again, is another example of this ump entitlement where umps need to get over themselves and move on with their lives. Trey Turner is arguing the ball and strike call. I get it, but it's afterwards. They're changing innings, so it's not like anything's going to change. It's not like he's really in his face like a manager is, but he's questioning and he's having a little back and forth with him. And as he's having the back and forth, he's throwing his equipment off and throwing it toward the dugout. Umpire says you can't do that. Trey Turner says I can do whatever I want, and then it gets tossed. Are you serious? Players do that all the time as they're arguing calls if they get a strikeout after an inning, and as they're talking to the umpire, they're throwing stuff toward the dugout to speed things up, which, oh, by the way, Major League Baseball has been trying to do this entire year with all the rule changes. So again, Mr. Umpire, get over yourself. And let's keep going here and stop playing yourself a role in the game. Enough.
Do you know what's an interesting concept to follow up on that? We've talked about the lack of officials in high school sports. Like, for example, we've used California as an example, that they're now playing high school games on Wednesday and Friday. Why? Because there are fewer officials, so they need people to officiate Wednesday and come back and officiate Friday. You know what we're missing out here on right now? That is something that is going to really come back to really hurt sports in maybe 5 years, Matt. Fewer people are going into officiating, and at some point the older guys will retire, and who's going to replace them? And how thin is the pool getting? Because, to be honest with you, a lot of people don't want to start at the youth level and work their way up because they're getting so much abuse at the youth level or at the high school level. Who needs that? And I think it's going to be a concern at some point about people who want to get into this. And then as they're getting into it, like they look around and say, this isn't worth it. And that's what you do have to be concerned about as time goes. Now, you're right. There's certain umpires. You know, everybody has different personalities, right? And some have the quick trigger, and some you can push them to limits that nobody else can be pushed to, and they won't do anything about it. All right? It all depends on the personality. So you're not going to get the same personality every time. If he's doing that last night with a different umpire, that different umpire may have just looked at him and go, blow off steam. But, you know, in 2 minutes and 19 seconds, we're restarting. Which is the approach you prefer to see taken. And I agree with you. I mean, but I also take into account they all have different personalities, and I see it all the time. I see it in football. I see it in basketball. You sit back and say, oh, boy, that's a problem. That's not the right guy to go after. Or you'll see it happening. You'll say, okay, now this guy at least will listen. He's not going to change anything, but he'll listen to you. Just different personalities for different people. But I'm concerned down the road in 5-6 years, what will be the depth of officiating in every sport? Because of the abuse that they're getting as they work their way through it. Luke hasn't even gone to Little League yet, and already people are fearing you. I can see it now. Little Luke goes out to play T-ball, and all the people umpiring the game, they're like, oh, no, here he comes.
No good! No good! No good!
And to quote Lisa, and I know this will be a future quote, Matt, it's just T-ball. It's not just T-ball. This is his future.
You are 100% correct.
This is his first step to the Yankees. Aaron Judge started in T-ball.
I'm more worried about scholarships for college than I am making the majors. But yeah, that too, I guess.
And just to let you know, Aaron Judge got hurt in T-ball. We'll come back with more in a moment. And Chris Wheeler here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Want to work for a stable yet growing company? Got it. Want to work for a family-owned business with over 100 years' experience in taking care of customers and employees? Got it. Want to work for a leader in selling more cars and satisfying more customers? Got it. Who has all that? SMC Sunbury Motor Company is looking for technicians across all their departments. Whether you're an entry-level technician, an experienced technician, or someone looking for a career change, Sunbury Motors would love to hear from you. They're looking for technicians for their quick lane, car and light truck service, heavy truck service, body shop, and frame and alignment division. You can apply online at sunburymotors.com, in person at our North 4th Street location, or call Todd at 570-286-7746. Your new career of working on Fords, Kias, Hyundais, Western Star trucks, plus anything that fits in the door, and some things that don't. Join Sunbury Motors. Your new career is waiting for you.
Hey everybody, Art Thomas here, president of MechTech Incorporated and Diversified Construction. You know, our commercials are always so serious, telling you about the work we do, except for the ones we did about the crapper. Remember those? Well, I thought, why don't we take a break from all this nose to the grindstone stuff and have a little fun? We're going to have a customer appreciation event at Eclipse Craft Brewing on Tuesday, October 3rd. So save the date. If you are one of our customers or vendors, or ever have been, or think that someday you might be, you're invited. We're teaming up with Haven Ministries Sunbury that night to raise money for their mission and construction expansion project. That evening from 4:30 to 7, all the pizza, snacks, and drinks are on us as a thank you for being our partner. All you have to do to get in the door is bring a donation to Haven Ministry. Any amount will be graciously accepted. As always at our parties, there will be lots of door prizes, good food, and great networking for all. Be sure to listen for more details later this summer.
Today on Hey Culligan's Smart Home, Smarter Water Softener, here's Kevin.
Hey Culligan, can a smart water softener lift those heavy salt bags for me?
Kevin, it can.
Wait, it can?
Yep, the smart high-efficiency water softener from Culligan can alert your dealer when the salt needs to be replaced, and they'll do it for you, so your water stays soft and you stay away from lifting the bags.
I mean, I could lift them if I wanted.
No judgment here, Kevin. We're happy to do it, and we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with the local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
Call Culligan of North Central Pennsylvania today for all your water treatment needs and set up a free in-home water test with a water professional that knows the water where you live. Culligan of North Central Pennsylvania. Call 1-800-788-1978. That's 1-800-788-1978. Or visit them online at callculligan.com. That website again is callculligan.com. Culligan. Better water, pure and simple.
To prove that mobile from Penn Teledata Business Voice brings the office everywhere you are, I'm going to connect with my team while falling 15,000 feet!
We're here, boss. We hear you loud and clear.
Thanks, Janice. You know, companies today need affordable, cloud-based, unlimited calling, conferencing, mobile synergy, and easy upgrades to grow with your business to keep you, well, truly mobile.
Penn Teledata Business Voice. Anywhere you are.
Janice?
Yeah, boss.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a little help.
Qualify for Medicare and Medicaid? Add more benefits to your Medicaid coverage at no extra monthly cost with the Geisinger Gold Medicare Advantage Plan. Geisinger Gold was rated a best insurance company for Medicare Advantage with prescription drug by U.S. News & World Report. Get more without paying more. Call 866-950-4317 today.
Geisinger Gold are HMO PPO and HMO DSNP plans with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Geisinger Gold depends on contract renewal.
Today's show brought to you by Sunbury Motors. It is always a privilege for me to spend any time with my good friend Chris Wheeler. Wheels, how are you?
It's great to hear from you too, Steve. You know, I always enjoy catching up with you, my good friend.
All right, so what we'll do is I'll ask a question. You'll answer, but then I'll let you ask me a question. We'll alternate back and forth. How about that?
Yeah, I'd rather me be asking the questions because it's about Penn State.
Well, that just means you'll give short answers to this stuff.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to get much more. You're not going to get much more from me about watching the Phillies right now either.
Yeah. No, I know. You know, I will say in general though, is it a better game with all the rules now?
I think so. Yeah, I do. I think they're trying. The thing that bothers me more than anything are the strikeouts. You know, you still strike out. Teams still strike out so much, and this team here strikes out an inordinate. And if I hear one more time that it's just an out, I want to just scream.
Oh, you know? That's sickening. That's Wheels. That's sickening. You and I both know. If I can move a runner over, get him in on a wild pitch, whatever, it's about movement. Right, strikeout. There's no movement. That's why MIT has no national championships.
Well, you hit it right on the head, because that's the problem nowadays, is that the game is being run more and more by statistical stuff, and a player doesn't make any money anymore by moving a runner over. You know, that was what you used to do. It was a team concept, team game. I'm not saying guys don't think or try, but it's not something that is really ingrained in them. And beaten into them the way it was when when we saw the game when we were a little bit younger. And it just, they don't think. Look, how many times with this ghost runner, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that in extra innings, but look, I did enough 15, you did them too, but I did enough 15, 20 inning games, and I'm sure nobody wants to do that stuff anymore. But how many times do you look up in one of these ghost situations and there's one out and the runner's still at second base? It just drives you crazy that, and look, the game is hard. It's hard. To bunt them over, to get them over, and all. It's supposed to be hard, but they don't even try, and that's what drives me nuts.
I agree with you. They'll put the ghost runner out there in games I'm doing, and I refer to as I'll take the Charlie Finley. I refer to as a designated runner. Why not? Right? That's how I call it. Right?
I like that.
That's the old Charlie Finley thing from the 70s. And the first thing I say is, will they bunt him over?
No.
No. Let's see, you can score on a hit, an error, a wild pitch, a pass ball, but we don't want to bunt them over. Do they even bunt in batting practice anymore? That's what I'm asking.
I'm not around it. You're around more baseball than I am, probably.
Yeah.
See, I went to a bunch of Threshers games down there, but I'm not there for BP and too hot to be out there too early. So I don't know what they do with it. I'm sure they work on it a little bit, but Phillies had a situation last night where they're going to try and bunt with Sosa and bunt a couple guys over in the eighth inning, and he can't get the bunt down, which may not be his fault because he doesn't bunt. And then he lines into a double play because they got a kid on second base that flinches. What's the cardinal rule about that? Line drive, you freeze. Well, it sounds easy in the game for people who don't understand and don't like baseball. It's a really, really, really fast game down on the field. Unbelievably quick how fast things happen. So he gets doubled off, and next thing you know, they get one run out of it, and then wind up losing the game. But just the little fundamental things. And the other thing is, I don't want to sound like a dinosaur, but I'm so glad I'm not doing these games because it would drive me crazy when that stuff happens, and they really have no clue of what they just did wrong.
All right, your turn.
All right, my first question, of course, is, and I hear you all the time, you and Jack, talking about you win the game up front, offensively and defensively.
Great question.
All right, is Penn State better?
You know why they're better? I'll take you back to last season. Other Penn State teams, Wheels, would not have been able to absorb the loss of Olu Fashanu at left tackle last year. And Drew Shelton stepped in. What I'm seeing now is a team that has depth. So Hunter Norzad, in all likelihood, will start out at center. People forget Landon Tangwall missed 2/3 of the season. He's back at a guard spot. Sal Wormley, now 2 years removed from being hurt, I expect him to step up. Caden Wallace, Olu. Then you've got Shelton, J.B. Nelson. I mean, there's a lot of guys you can plug in. They can go as many as, to me, competently 9 guys that can play there if you need that to happen. Now we'll flip it to the other side. The defensive ends, Chop, Adisa Isaac, terrific players. But then you add in Dennis Sutton, who I think is poised to have a huge season. And Amin Vanover. People are concerned about tackle. I'm not so concerned about defensive tackle anymore. Devon Ellies is the leader there. But they can go, I think, 5 or 6 guys. It's the depth of this team that I think, Wheels, is the difference maker. I think it's the deepest team Penn State's had since 2008.
Yeah, and you didn't even talk about the linebackers and secondary, with everything, from our kid down here in Philadelphia, who's turned out to be such a great linebacker last year in the secondary.
Goodness.
So, they should be good defensively, right?
Right, and so you've got Abdul, which you just talked about.
Yeah.
By having him in there to go with Elston and King, you can now move Jacobs out to more of the field area, where Jacobs is excellent in coverage, very good against the run, and if you blitz him, he knows how to time it and he knows how to scrape, and that's really important. King should be one of the top corners in college football. He has all the ingredients that you and I are asking for, Wheels. Johnny Dixon, I go back to the Rose Bowl. and there's no Joey Porter Jr., but Clark Phillips also opted out of the game for Utah, their top guy, who played really well against USC in the Pac-12 championship game. And somebody asked me about the loss of the two corners. I said the difference is Penn State has Johnny Dixon and Utah doesn't. And It showed up in the Rose Bowl. Dixon played really well. Utah's guys did not. Right? And Dixon's going to get his shot. Then you get Daquan Hardy. And watch out for a youngster by the name of Cam Miller, who's going to rotate in a lot, Wheels. And I think he's going to be able to play well. Now, the safety spot, Keaton Ellis is the leader back there. Reed is the other safety. Then you've got behind them Zakee Wheatley, Mekhi Flowers, and then a guy that I say is out of central casting, KJ Winston. We need here to cast somebody to play safety in this movie. I'd like him to be about 6'2", 6'3", completely cut, can run a sub 4.4, and can play the run and the pass. I'll take 21 over here. He looks pretty good.
Wow. But they really have done a great job. All right, I got to have one more. If you have another baseball one,
sure.
I gotta ask. Obviously, the running back situation's to the moon after watching those guys last year and adding the transfer and all that. But what you watch? Is it Aller? I want to make sure I say it right.
Aller.
All right, it's Aller. Drew Aller. How good is he right now, and how good can he be?
He's made great progress in a year. The ball comes out of his hand a bit differently. So let's just take some of the great pitchers you watched in your lifetime. Right? When you watch some great pitchers, didn't you feel like the ball came out of their hand differently?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a great way to put it. You watch college quarterbacks, and something guys like you have taught me is I watch how they make their sideline throws, their deep sideline throws.
Yeah.
And you can just see right there when the ball comes out of their hands, and a guy breaks on the receiver but can't get there in time. That's when you always think, well, he's got like a Major League Baseball pitcher's arm too.
You're right. But you know what? I never discount Bo Prabula. He is a bigger, stronger, and even a little quicker Trace McSorley.
Wow.
I really like Bo a lot. Now, Drew is going to get the first shot at this thing, and he moves well in the pocket. He's not a scrambler, but he's an exponentially better runner, point A to point B, than people realize he is. And, a lot's going to hinge on what he does. But he has a lot of potential, which is a very fancy way of saying in this level you haven't quite done it yet. But he has a lot of potential.
Right. But to have two quarterbacks, because let's face it, like you guys always say, you're one play from needing the next guy. So to have two quarterbacks and you feel are potential to be big league in this conference is, that's very comforting to us fans. By the way, I'm going to be up for the Indiana game this year. We're finally going to Renee and I are finally going to get to a game. The COVID thing and the Nittany Lion Indian, the whole thing with me. But we've made arrangements, got places, go stay at the Penn Stater and everything. So hopefully I get to catch up with you.
Oh, that'd be great. We're outside the tunnel now, as a matter of fact.
Oh, so is that right?
Yeah, they put us outside the tunnel on some big stage. It's So he said, "You're on the big stage now." I said, it's just more steps to get up. I mean, that's
Well, it's more room for Roger.
Yeah, exactly. Roger needs the room to operate, Wheels. See, this is what we do. We talk. I mean, I asked one baseball question, but you know what? The one part of your answer I resent, and I do mean this, is that there's certain ways of doing things, and you're never a dinosaur for pointing out how it should be done right.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I always wanted to not be the I'm not on the air now, so I don't have to think about it. But I never wanted to be the one that won't change. And you know what I'm saying by that too.
Sure.
You could be the same way as a football announcer and get all out of sorts because down in distance, there's the sidelines are empty on every play because that's what you do nowadays. That's the way the sport is. The same guys aren't playing all the time.
Well, and I'll give you an example. I mean, Penn State uses an H-back, not a fullback. Okay.
Right. There you go.
Well, I'm perfectly fine with whatever works. I'm perfectly fine with, because to me, you either adapt or you lose. So they feel that's the best way to do it. I'm not going to sit there and go, bring a fullback in. And you notice in the NFL, once in a while, a Kyle Juszczyk will be used, and he's effective. But, it just depends on who you have personnel-wise. So I don't worry about that stuff. So I think you and I have adapted pretty well over the years.
You don't look for the tailback with a fullback in front of him anymore. That was the old days.
Right. Not even Michigan does that. They were like the last ones.
Not even Michigan does that. That's a good point. Good point. How do you feel about the realignment?
I think that it's going to stay stable for the next 5 years once the Pac-12 is settled. Mm-hmm. I think the Big 12 improved itself. The ACC is financially stuck. Texas and Oklahoma and USC and UCLA are major league additions to two major league conferences, and that's why there's a financial separation between the two.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's all about. We all know nowadays it's all about money. Unfortunately or fortunately, that's what makes it go. And that's another thing where you can't stick your head in the sand with the NIL stuff and all, and pout about it and everything. You got to go along with it or get buried.
Exactly. Perfect way to phrase it. That went fast. Thank you so much, my friend. We will talk again soon, and I can't wait to see you.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get together. Do you do an afternoon show in State College on Fridays?
I do it from 11 to noon.
Okay, well, maybe we'll catch up that.
Yeah,
I'll look
sounds
for
good.
you. We'll talk.
Thanks, my friend.
Great, Steve. Anytime. It's great talking with you, too.
Tell Renee I said hi.
Will do.
All right, that wraps up the day. Did you enjoy that at the end, or were there elements that you thought were stupid?
No, I love Wheels.
What about my part?
Oh, your part was good, too. You guys are always fun to listen to together.
I set you up on that,
Yes. Yes.
What about me?
I fell victim to that one.
Oh, all right. Well, more on the Jim Harbaugh suspension tomorrow. If you could hand-pick 4 games to miss.
Yeah, sheesh.
But I knew it was like, we all knew that anyway. We knew that Michigan has dramatically scheduled down as the years have gone in non-conference. So you knew it was going to be like, yeah, okay, great. This is the equivalent of a 4-game slap in the wrist. All right? There's nothing, quote, significant in there because Rutgers doesn't have enough to compete with them. They just don't. All right. Great show. A lot of fun. And back with you tomorrow here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
This is WKOK Sunbury.